Hey guys, it's Kirsten and welcome back to Twin Talks Ballet, your place for mindset, career, and technique, lifestyle advice for ballet dancers. I am very eager to get into this video because we are doing an expectation versus reality on becoming a professional ballerina. Now, I just want to get out of the way that I use the term ballerina in the title for SEO purposes. It is a highly searchable term. I didn't learn this until later in my dancing career / training. The term ballerina really refers to kind of like the prima ballerina of a company. Premier or top or principal dancer who generally does the lead roles. Ballerina is kind of reserved for that status, whereas the rest of us ballet muggles, as I like to say, that term would just be ballet dancer, professional ballet dancer. So just getting it out of the way, I do not consider myself to be worthy of the ballerina status, and that's okay with me, but the more you know. And by the way, if you're new to my channel, welcome. So glad you're here. My name is Kirsten. I am a mindset coach for dancers, a former professional dancer myself, and now I also teach ballet. And what I do as a mindset coach for dancers is that I coach dancers through shifting their mindset. As a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, I help dancers overcome self-doubt, insecurities, fears, limiting beliefs from their past as a dancer that really continue to hold them back in their training, hold them back from feeling confident enough to put themselves out there, mending their relationship with ballet, because for a lot of us, it comes with baggage. And so I really help dancers through the mental side of their ballet journey. And so if you'd like to learn more about that, you could click the link to my website down below, which is kirstenkemp.com, to learn more about my services. And you can also book a free consultation through there. We'll talk through your goals. I'll make some suggestions, talk to you more about how coaching works, and we can work together if we're both feeling like we're a good fit. The first expectation versus reality point I want to go through is you really have to have the perfect body bone structure wise to make it to the professional level. This kind of goes in with another expectation I had, that you kind of have to look like everyone who's in Point magazine to make it into a professional company, which turned out to not really be true. So here was the reality. Because that was super discouraging to think, okay, I'm either born with this bone structure or I'm not. I can't do anything about it. Something that I was relieved to find out is, though, yes, I do want to make it very clear that there is still an expectation to be thin in the ballet world. Like, I'm very blunt about that. Would I like to see more body types included in the professional realm? Yes. Do I think there is some diversity? Is it perfect? No. Overall, there can be just a toxic culture around thinness, which I've made a video about. I'll link it in the cards here if you want to know more about my thoughts on what the ballet industry really promotes in terms of demands on especially female bodies and what our physical appearance should be like. Oh my gosh, sorry, my cat's freaking out. But anyway, there is still an expectation to honestly not have a lot of body fat, have decent muscle tone, but in terms of my previous expectation that you have to have a certain bone structure, like your legs have to be a certain length, your torso a certain length, certain like a hyperextension to your knees, a certain shape of your feet. That wasn't necessarily true. What I did see, which was encouraging, is that there were several dancers, actually many dancers in the company I was with, Oklahoma City Ballet, in addition to other companies I was exposed to, I trained with, I've seen them perform. I have seen dancers with, not the most lumping arches, but overall their musculature and the lines of their muscles create a nice long line or beautiful ballet line with their legs. Or maybe not everyone had, teeny tiny hips and like hyperextended knees. I saw some dancers with longer torsos. I saw dancers of all different heights, even some that were like 5'10", 5'11". I've seen that before. Now, is it harder to find a spot whenever you are kind of varying from that average body type? Sure, it might be a little bit more challenging, but there really are places out there. I find that a lot of companies these days kind of tend to have like a token tall girl or two in their company, usually like filling soloist roles and things like that. So yeah, it is totally possible. I did see lots of dancers who really stood out for their artistry, their movement quality. Honestly, how nice they were to work with. They were super smart. They were very reliable, dependable, had a good attitude. That actually does go a long way. The second expectation I had that I'm very, very excited to just like say it wasn't true. Basically, once you hit 18, that year you go out, you audition for companies, and you either make it or you don't. That's like your defining age, and if you're past that, you're too old. And okay, here's the reality. Is it easier to kind of start your audition process for companies earlier? So maybe if you are still in your training, you're still at that training age, if you don't get into a company, you have a buffer year of training, and then you could try again. Yeah, that's great. And then also if you're kind of at that age where your parents are still comfortable supporting you, so you can at least take like a trainee, apprenticeship, second company, unpaid position, kind of do your time in that way, which if you want to hear more about like compensation in the ballet industry, I will also link an older video I did about that in the cards. It is kind of easier to start the audition process earlier just so you have actually more time for trial and error. You have more audition seasons to go out there, get a contract, maybe not get one, go back to your training, or get an unpaid contract, wait that out, try to get a paid contract. And here's my point. The reality is really that I've seen dancers get their first professional contract at like 26, as in like their first paid contract, or even their first like unpaid contract. I've seen this. There are some dancers out there, I'm sure, who have gotten one later. Some companies feel like they should not be taking older dancers into unpaid positions because they should be able to provide for themselves. I totally get that ethically. So they will kind of have an age limit on how old you could be in their traineeships or their second companies, whatever it is. Some are kind of open. So if you are able to get a restaurant job or something outside that you can support yourself with, or your parents support you outside, honestly, if you just get in the game and give yourself 2 or 3 years to just kind of be that last girl, that last guy standing. Honestly, it's kind of a waiting game, a game of persistence, and it's kind of also just doing the work, but also being at the right place at the right time. What I tell a lot of dancers I mentor and I coach or I teach, I tell them, it's not like after one try at 18, going to these professional auditions, you either get it or you don't. It's kind of like the girl who makes it typically is the last girl standing, not always the best, because some get discouraged, they quit after a year, and then they're done. I've seen dancers who are not the most talented I've ever seen persist for literally years. I don't know how they do it. Years and years going around to all these different companies, unpaid contracts. They get random jobs, their parents support them, stuff like this, which does, there's a conversation on privilege there. We know, I know. Not gonna lie, I was a beneficiary of that as well. My parents were very generous to support me. I'm eternally grateful for that. But anyway, so yeah, it was kind of a matter of who's willing to stick it out the longest, not like, oh, you auditioned at 18, if you're not ready, too bad, so sad. Number 3, ooh, this is a juicy one. Okay, so my previous expectation was that casting and promotions, contracts, whatever, acceptances into different summer programs and year-round programs, it would make sense from the dancer's perspective. And really, what I mean by that is these results would be given to the dancers who were, in my eyes, the most talented technically. Okay, this was not exactly reality. You know what? And I want to just share with you many of the different factors that are just a few, honestly, that could be going into why certain dancers get certain parts, even though to the other dancers in the company, they're like, what? I thought I would be better for that. Or I've worked harder, or I feel like my technique is better than hers. Just speaking of recreational or professional companies and how the casting process works, as a teacher and just as an observant dancer, I've kind of gotten a little insight into this. So other than talent, when you see a dancer in the studio who seems to be objectively not as suited for a promotion or a role than another dancer, and they still get that part or still get that promotion, here are just a few ideas other factors that maybe not won't occur to most dancers. Some directors really value giving growth opportunities to certain dancers. They want to give opportunities for their dancers to be pushed. So they're actually investing in their dancers, which I think is actually kind of great, instead of just being always typecasted, always stuck in like, oh, you're just good at this, so you're going to keep doing that forever. And honestly, as a professional dancer, you're not often getting opportunities or teachers watching you and investing in your personal growth. That's kind of left up to you as an individual most of the time. Your hand is not being held. So I kind of appreciate it when dancers are cast in a role that the director knows is kind of uncomfortable for them, but it's giving them the opportunity to really step up and try something new and to expand their skill set. So that could be a strategy behind some decisions. And also kind of another point that's a little more obvious is typecasting. So sometimes even though maybe you're looking at one of your peers and you're like, I feel like I'm technically better than that dancer, but they got, let's say, Clara in the Nutcracker or something. One role that I got mega upset about when I was not casted as Clara when I was younger. I mean, I was super sad about it. I was a taller dancer. I was like 5'6" at that time, and on point I would have been taller than the lady who always played Clara's mom. So even though I was like, wow, I've been working so hard, I feel like my technique is good, I feel like my acting is okay. Honestly, of course, that role was casted with other dancers who were shorter because it just makes sense with their look, their character, they look younger. So that could be something. Now, let's get into the controversial stuff, which is politics and money. So I have witnessed certain decisions being made about casting because, okay, and don't know if I should say this, I've seen it happening more with male dancers I've been working with, or I had worked with rather than females, but it happens on both sides for sure. There are some dancers with big attitudes. Okay, big attitudes. So these dancers have literally no problem going to a ballet mistress, ballet master, whatever, or even the director or the company manager or something, and complaining or threatening to leave or saying, like, giving, like, crying and saying, like, I've just been so discouraged, I just want this part, basically pleading for a part. And I've literally seen some companies be like, okay, they would rather not deal with that company dancer being upset and dramatic. So they make the decision to just cast them anyway, just give them what they want so they don't cause a fuss. Very controversial. I have been a witness to this happening. I wasn't in the meeting, been privy to some information though. That might happen. Also, there are dancers in companies. Now, does this seem completely unfair? Yeah. It's also just, when you think about it from the company side, it's like, literally, what are they supposed to do? A lot of companies are starving for money, especially right now. You gotta keep your doors open. To have, even to have a company, you have to have money, okay? A lot of times ticket sales is actually not the most significant part of a company budget. It's private donations, okay? So these people who donate privately actually do have a say. Sometimes if they have enough opinions, if they even threaten to take their donation away, which can happen, these donors can influence what pieces get on stage, who gets fired, who gets hired, what roles certain dancers consistently get, promotions. It's crazy, okay? It does happen though. But, I can kind of see things from the company's side. It's like, it sucks, but what are they supposed to do? Do I wish it was different? Absolutely. Do I wish everything was merit-based? Absolutely. But it's kind of like, unless we're more like companies in Europe and we're getting more government funding, I think corruption like this will continue to happen. So, yes, when certain dancers have certain donors that are very fond of them, or their parents are big donors of a company, that can influence what happens on stage. Also, I do want to mention this point. This actually blew my mind. It took me getting injured and watching like 4 performances from the company I was supposed to be dancing with. I had knee surgery, I was not dancing, so I watched all the shows. And one thing that absolutely blew my mind, it was a huge learning experience, is that there were some dancers that I thought were like awesome in the studio. And when I saw them on stage, some things I liked about them in the studio really didn't translate. And there were some dancers that I thought, their technique, I don't like how they do certain things. Personally, I wouldn't do it that way. And something about their just performance really, really stood out. Like they consistently looked really good on stage. It shocked me. It really made me think from the director's point of view, which is understanding that really what we all work for as dancers is that end result on stage. That's actually what matters. That is the vision that the director is defending, working for. That's the end result we're trying to bring to the audience. So sure, a dancer could look a certain way in the studio, but if that director has seen that dancer on stage, wow that director in the audience and surprise them multiple times, they're going to be thinking, okay, that's how that dancer looks on stage. So I want to cast them. I want them in this role. So that can happen. And I think it's really cool if you can, maybe if you are double casted in a piece and you're tempted to just stay home or stay backstage when your peers are dancing on stage, I would recommend, if you can, go out in the audience and watch them. See who stands out. I think it might surprise you. Number 4, my expectation was that as an aspiring dancer, if I was really going to make it as a professional, I had to be like plucked out from a crowd. A teacher had to like pull me aside and tell me, I think you have a lot of potential. I have to be kind of noticed from a younger age. I got super discouraged when I was younger, when I saw some of my classmates being told, I think you have a lot of potential. Your body is really good for ballet. And I was getting some positive feedback, but I literally never had that moment of like someone being like, listen, I think you could really make it. I actually didn't, well, I won't say never. I had it like years, literally, I think like 4 years after I decided at 13 I wanted to be a professional. It was like at the age of 17 when I asked them for advice, suggested, yeah, I think you can do it, but you really have to go to a professional school. You have to work hard. That was their personal recommendation for me. But I never had that glamorous moment when someone was like, I think you will make it. I didn't get scholarships to summer programs when I was younger, except for a few times for like really tiny summer intensives. So I wasn't really getting scholarships until I was like in college. My point is, the reality is that you can actually work crazy hard, get good training, hold yourself to your goals, and surprise people. You can really grow into being a professional dancer, because the reality is no one is like just instantly starting as like professional material. Some people have a leg up, so to speak, with the body they were born into. Ballet might be easier for them. But I've seen a lot of those dancers fizzle out because they're told, oh, you should want this professional career, you should go for it. And like I have one friend who never really was allowed to ask herself if she wanted to be a professional. She had so much talent that she was just kind of like expected to do it. And so she just went along with it, and that's such a bummer. So yeah, I would say don't underestimate the power of belief, conviction, hard work, good training, and getting advice and mentorship and just exposure to a lot of different schools, teachers, ideas. That can really take you far. Okay, number 5. My expectation and what really like motivated me to want to be a professional when I was young is this idea that it just seems so glamorous. This idea of dancing all day and being beautiful, like all the women in the magazines, like Point Magazine, Dance Magazine. I wanted to be like the beautiful dancers I started to see on YouTube when ballet videos became popular when I was a kid. And I just thought, wow, you get to like tour and maybe I'll dance in Europe one day and live in a big city. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this would be so glamorous. I loved dancing so much that I just wanted to do it all the time. And the reality is that while I had so much joy as a dancer, I have so many fond memories. I really loved it so much. So much that I was willing to go through a lot of hard things to keep doing it. The reality is that it's not always glamorous. And I think we all know this, but I want to say specifically, it is an emotionally very draining job sometimes. It is very stressful sometimes to have to be on every single day. It's not a very stable career by any means. And having that just question all the time of, where will I live next year? Well, where will I dance next year? Will I get injured? Will I be able to dance next year? Will I get this part? Does this person like me? Will I be able to do tonight's show? My shoes are dead. I'm injured. You know, it can be really stressful, and you have to really be able to handle that. And it can also be really painful. It can be tiring. I was in pain a lot as a dancer. Not always, but and not always when I was injured either. Sometimes your body just hurts. It gets tired. Your toes hurt. You know, you don't always want to go into the studio every day, and you have to just push through that if you want to be there, if you want to get to the professional level. And I say this because for me, that pursuit was worth it. I really did love ballet, and I knew that. I knew it because I went through some super hard stuff in my professional training. When I went to a bigger ballet school, the last year of high school, and then I did a gap year at that school. I had a really wonderful experience my first year, but the second year was just like, honestly, it just felt like mental, physical, emotional torture. I'm going to be honest with you. Yet I still loved to dance. It was the weirdest thing. That environment, whatever happened, it never took that love away from me. And so I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I wanted to see this dream through, so I did. So for me, I knew that. And I also knew personally, like, why it mattered that I did this. I knew what I was trying to accomplish through dance. I knew what it meant to me to do that. I knew that it was precious. It was only for a time. So I knew why, and I knew that I loved it. So all these sacrifices were worth it for me. But I just want to say it was not glamorous all the time. It was really painful. It was really stressful. There are a lot of things I straight up don't miss about it at all. But there are also many things I do miss about it. So I just want to say that, you know, if you really want to dance, try it, you know, and if in the process of training and trying, auditioning, you figure out that you don't like it anymore, stop. That's totally okay. I think it's really important to just always be asking yourself what is worth it to you. Don't pretend that you are stuck in this career. You have to. You're not good at anything else. And honestly, I've coached a lot of dancers as a mindset coach. I've coached a lot of dancers through that confusing process of discerning, like, am I just unhappy right now? Should I keep dancing, or is it time for me to stop? And I've coached several dancers through making that decision, and then also the transition either away from dance or into changing their relationship with dance so they can stay in it and be happier. So if you find yourself in that position, you're really unhappy or just struggling in ballet, and you're not sure if you want to continue, if it's something you want to push through or not, reach out to me. You can just visit my website, kirstenkip.com, and we can get connected there to talk about working together. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe, by the way. I always forget to do that very YouTuber thing. Like it if you did enjoy this video, and make sure you're subscribed. I'd love to see you, not literally see you, I'd love to read your comments. You know, if you're a repeat viewer, comment. I would love to hear like how long you've been watching. That would be personally pretty fun, because I spent so long talking to you people, but I'm really talking to a camera. So I'd love to hear back from you if you're still watching. Shoot me a comment down below. So good to be with you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.